everyone.
Hey.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. We have some very, very, very special guests with us today. Some fellow YouTubers, some fellow adventurers. So, without further ado, I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and tell us about themselves and their YouTube channel and so on and so forth.
All right. Well, I'm Herman.
I'm Danica. I'm on our channel. I'm Dee because sometimes it's difficult to remember Danica, but
our channel is H&D Abroad. We started Christmas Eve. Our very first video was Christmas Eve, as we were trying to decide where we were going, how we were going. The general flow of our channel is from the perspective of couples who have not moved abroad, who are trying to decide the path forward. Just kind of about join us on our journey kind of thing. A lot of people have moved and made plans, and they kind of looking at things in hindsight. We're looking at we still have yet to go, and the changes that we're making. We are tapping into 50 this year, the both of us. So, we got young adult children we're trying to transition, and all a part of that is a part of our journey. And so trying to tap into, because when we started, we saw a lot of non-Blacks. We saw a lot of young Black women or women in general, Black women in general, who had a story about traveling. And my whole thing was, okay, so what are the guys doing who aren't 30? And what are the guys doing who are with a spouse and children? And I wanted a relatable piece. If I move abroad, which is okay, am I going to be hanging out with a bunch of my wife and a bunch of ladies? No. And so that kind of started some of our story.
Yeah. So the decision to center couples, to center Black couples, and then things that two paths that are our passion. One is a healthier lifestyle, which as we have been aging, has become definitely more intentional. And then generational wealth is for Black people and for people in general. The experiences, the financial, there are a lot of things that you begin to say, how do I want to impact the next generation? What do I want to set up in my life that will outlast me? And so the expat journey, I think, is how we are digging deeper into those concepts, considering them, looking at examples and the people around us, including finding your channel and falling in love virtually with Ecuador. I can see the cycle in the United States keeping us always in a cycle of we have just enough. And I think we deserve more. And I think we want to show others kind of that path to living a life that creates the balance and the value that many people are looking for.
Well, that was an excellent answer. Man, I'm recording this, so I'm going to keep that. I might have to get her to write it down and use that.
Listen, I tell people all the time, I'm married up on purpose. I'm married up.
That's awesome. So, on your journey so far, you said you started at Christmas Eve. What have you learned through that journey so far that surprised you?
I have learned how invested Herman is in this process. One of the things that we have been intentional about our channel is creating the space for Black men to discuss. And I wasn't sure if he was going to bite for that kind of topic area. And I also wanted to acknowledge that for me, that was the struggle that got us to we are moving abroad, was that I wasn't sure how he was investing in the process. So I'm talking, I'm researching, I'm excited. I'm buying the world map. I'm putting dots on it, saying these are the places I'm interested in. But this process of starting a channel has given our relationship the opportunity to pull forward some strengths that I wasn't as clear, that I've been able to hear him articulate, and then in the process been able to witness. And I've really seen our relationship grow because of it.
Wow.
Come on now.
Okay, she's paying attention.
It was a struggle, y'all. It was a struggle. It was a struggle because you know, I don't want to just bring him along. I mean, I was like, do you see yourself in this?
And I think a part of, before I answer my part of that, to piggyback what she's saying, I think a part of the tie-in for that has been in those conversations with Black men. We've had Steve on the show, and that was an honor. Thank you again for that. And having Black men on the show, she's heard them echo things that I've said. Mm-hmm. And you know how it is when you have your kids in school, you've been telling them, this is how you should do it. This is how you do it. And they go and their friend's mom tell them something and they go, oh, Mrs. Jones said, you're like, I've been telling you that. And you hear it from different perspectives. You hear different words that say the same thing. And it opened up doors to the conversation that sometimes is a translation thing and not necessarily a commitment or a you are and I aren't. And I'm not. When we watch the various couples, you all included, we see this woman, this Black woman who's got this plan. She wrote everything down. She stripped it out. she knows the plan. She's got the map. She knows the trip. We've talked to Rick and Halisi. We've talked to our our Exodus Life, and the couples all look like the two of us. Mm-hmm. And in that story, I think she goes, okay, I see what you're doing. I see what you're saying. I see why you didn't say it and you were thinking through. And she's given me the patience to express through that into this journey. Moving abroad is not a fear for me. It just, I think in a lot of places, I was like a lot of Black men in America. Okay, I can do bad here. I know the devil here. I know the crisis here. You're asking me to go to somebody else's country, and on top of dealing with being a Black man there, I got to deal with, I don't understand their language. I don't understand their culture, and I don't mind. We can travel for a long time. We can stay for a long time. You're asking me to pick up and go. You're asking me to leave my kids behind. You're asking me to leave my parents behind. And that is a Black man struggle. And the guys that I work with, they say, oh, I hear you got a channel. Why would you do that? My mom is here. And I'm like, your mom is grown. And some of that conversation, she was gone before you were grown. Yeah. And so that conversation, Pete, I think that's grown in our conversation.
Right.
What I've learned is that Black men are adventurous too. We don't always, put out in the same way, express in the same way. We're not always in front. This YouTube, I struggle. The whole time we're talking, I'm looking at us on the screens. It always looks like I'm looking down. She's like, look at the camera. I struggle with that. That is not my thing, man.
We gave up looking at the camera.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, you watch all our videos, it looks like I'm looking at the keyboard. I mean, because seeing the engagement, that's a part of the process. So this was a challenge for me because social media, as you can see, we have no problem talking. We have no problem engaging. You're asking me to speak to a space. You're asking me to speak to an audience that I hope is there, that I hope will attend. And what surprised me is that people are engaging, hearing my story as a Black man and hearing my story as a Black husband, and not just as a Black father or the Black baby daddy or a Black guy who lives at her house, as a Black husband. And that has been encouraging. And it's probably one of the most surprising parts of that process. This is rock solid. So to say she doesn't surprise me sounds inappropriate, but I know who she is and where she's going, and she makes it comfortable for me to follow. And I am proud that she's given me the space to be this old guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of surprises, I was shocked that she went along with it. Would you like to explain that?
No, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, let me back up. You know how you were saying that you're like you're not really used to doing this and being kind of out there. That's her. She's very reserved. Very. It's shocking to me that she would even allow herself to be on a YouTube channel. I'm very like, I'm not like the most outgoing person, but I'm not shy. So it feels natural to me. As far as the coming up with the idea, it was something I brought to her. I thought about it a little. I did a little research because I know I can't bring her any idea without some kind of solid research behind it, because she's going to tear it apart. And you know, I came up with the idea of how we could exit the country. And the first country we looked at was Panama. I came up with the idea, and she said, "You know what? I want to do it." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, you took the hard part out of this." I thought that was going to be the hard.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "All right. Well, I guess I'm serious. Let's do it." And that was kind of a dream she had ever since we visited Dubai in 2016. She was like, I want to live outside the United States. So I came up with a plan, kind of on the spur of the moment, just came up with a plan and said, you know what, this might work if, you know, we make it work. And we learned, we make sure that we budget. We've never been the type of people to spend a lot of money anyway. I said, yeah, you know, it could work. You know, if you're willing to do it. You know, we got grown kids, you know, just having a third grandbaby. So
yes,
like we had to be prepared to leave that behind, you know, while letting them understand that we're not gone.
Yeah, we're not leaving them.
Right.
You know, I was going to ask that question for you two. How are your kids dealing or handling you all deciding to leave? Because, you know, it not only is it hard for them, it was hard for us. It was harder for me because, you know, I was watching the grandchild every weekend. So now I have to tell her that Grammy is going to another country, you know, and explain that to her, that I'm not leaving her. She can contact me. We can FaceTime. We're coming back every year around her birthday. So, you know, it was very difficult for me because I already have anxiety. So now separation anxiety on top of that.
We are still in the process. Let's see. So during the pandemic, our oldest daughter was in college. Our middle son was in his last year of high school, and our youngest was in
He just started
10th grade. Yeah.
9th grade.
Yeah. So halfway through his 9th grade year, everyone was at home, which was different because they were going, they were doing, they were, driver's license and cars and goodbye, mom. So everyone coming home, I think I kind of started nesting again. Home is the center. We're cooking, but I'm mommying again. And so as COVID continued, everyone started kind of living their lives again. By December, our oldest daughter had decided, she was working full time. Our youngest son was finishing an associate's degree, so moving into career work, and our youngest decided to finish high school early and started college classes last fall. So jump. Everybody's ready to jump. So now everyone's leaving. So I've had, like you said, kind of needing that emotional transition kind of accepting that everyone is living their independent life like we have parented them to be. But that needed this transition, them moving, into their own spaces, them, us having confidence and being able to be there was important to me. The other thing that was also important to me, our youngest, because of his age, we did the residency in Mexico. So he's actually, he qualified for residency under, under our income, which kind of gives mama a little piece. If he needs to come, then he can come and stay. So, I mean, just navigate. Everybody's got passports. And then being in community with other mothers has also helped me to transition. They are saying, as long as y'all are happy, we're okay. I mean, that's it. They're like, the deal is you, mom. It's not us. We're not trying to hold you here. Our youngest, and I think I'm also having some parenting struggle. I lost my dad during the pandemic, and I recognized how important my parents being available to me, how important that was through my life, especially during those early college, those early 20s years. And I felt a sense of responsibility, but our kids are like, we're okay. Yeah, I mean, Zoom, Cash App still works. I mean, you can still get us money, which is kind of their primary priority anyway. And so that has made them being, speaking to our process positively has been helpful to me.
So that's mom answer, which is important. Dad perspective is similar. There's a slight variances to it, because when I was their age, I was trying to leave the house. And so I've been encouraging them to strike out, not to leave home, to strike out. I think currently this trip, this journey is not real to them necessarily yet because we're not gone. It's a conversation. They're in the room. They hear us doing lives. They know this is a part of the process, but we're still in the house. They're still down the hall. Even with the transitions that our two oldest are making to potentially within the next few months to be in their own spaces, it's simply them going, across town somewhere, and their various personalities, will adjust to that later. So our oldest, she's trying to figure her life. She's doing her thing. We're here. We're not here. She sees us. We don't see us. I think that won't catch up with her till later. When she says, here's a bad scenario in my life and all I can do is talk to mom and dad. And so there's some transitional pieces for her there. That makes me nervous because, daddies and girls, that's just, and that piece of being outside of the immediate comfort, safety for her space is a dad thing. But also wanting her to kind of figure it out without necessarily an immediate crutch. Okay, I'm not there. What are you going to do? How are you going to address that? So I'm in a mixed place there. After that, I have boys. The old school part of me says, bump your heads. Call me when it's hard. And we're not talking about throwing them under the bus. We're not talking about leaving them because what they have to address at early 20s in life is different from what I had to address 30 years ago in my early 20s. There was no internet when I was, 20. I went to the library in college and I was there all night trying to find one thing. They pick up the phone and the phone tells them what it is, and so it's a different perspective. And when they leave the house, my fear for them is they're Black men leaving the house. We live in the South. So that is, I can't immediately step back into how that's going to affect. I don't think that's hit them yet. Our youngest, he wants to still be he's finding himself and he's at that place where we're both acceptable and unacceptable.
Yeah.
You know, he needs us, he comes around. He doesn't need us, he don't show up. He's in that space, and not wanting to, as Dee said, not wanting to deprive them of the ability of being present, but also wanting them to kind of work through. I moved away from home on purpose because I wanted to be able to say, I made this choice, not mom and dad. I fell on my face, not mom and dad. But I also knew I could jump on a plane in a hot second on their dime and go home and cry. and it would be okay. And I want them to know that they have that same opportunity. It just may be in a different format. Mm-hmm. So I think they're still figuring that out.
You guys have been working on, or you have your residency for Mexico, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Without going into like all the things that I guess people normally ask you, like, well, why did you choose Mexico? This and that. I just want to know, what is the advantage for y'all for choosing Mexico?
For me, Mexico was as straightforward a process that I could start here in the U.S. That had no tax requirement that I knew that I would have to, kind of prove some additional things. I met we met the economic solvency requirements. So it seemed like like Mexico was a training opportunity. It was close enough. My mother is in her mid 70s. His dad is in his late 70s. And, from Mexico City or Puerto Vallarta, a couple of the cities that we're looking at, Guadalajara, we could be back here in the city that we currently live in 4 hours. And so that level, 3 to 4 hour accessibility, just, if I needed to be closer, because we don't have really any plans once we leave to come back to the States. I mean, there are very few scenarios where we would be back here long term. So being closer, but still living the expat life was important, and Mexico checked those boxes for us.
Mexico, in so many ways, is what people call it is a soft landing kind of place. It made the process simple enough for us to say, okay, we got our feet wet with how this works. We got our feet wet with being out of the country and seeing how we felt about it. We got to take the youngest along, and he got to feel the process, and then in a few hours we were home. We weren't on a plane 6, 7, 8, 10 hours like our most recent trip. It was just a quick hop, and we made the adjustments, and the people were kind and warming, and it made that process work out really well. So it really was that beginner's reach kind of place, it was, and because at the time it had for us, some of the simplest requirements, that allowed us to kind of put that together without trying to go through the process. We talked about Ecuador, we talked about Panama, we talked about Costa Rica, and there were some variances in all of those that had some highs and lows about what we could do immediately. We were really trying to jump on it. And it was one of those.
And community. So I'm a part of the Exodus Summit community, and a lot of people have chosen cities in Mexico, talked about it a lot, and then shared their process. So with that community aspect, I was just like, okay, I want to go where I know people that I know are, and that I could lean in and ask questions and get referrals. So that community aspect also. So, the same for Jules. She's created that online community. We've talked to an attorney. I mean, that's why I'm looking at the checklist that the attorney gave us for we're looking at the professional residency visa for Ecuador being, next on our list, because all of the same kinds of things with all of the airports coming, airlines coming into Manta. I mean, just those things make a difference for how soft can the landing be? Can we afford it? I mean, just the things that would help us to have a quality of life we expect.
And Mexico was the quickest.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it wasn't necessarily the easiest, but it was in the easiest range and the quickest. So
yeah, and of course, borders the United States. So like you said, it's just that proximity to home.
Right.
I don't think did we even consider? Now that I'm thinking about it, like, did we even talk about Mexico?
No,
I don't think we. That's crazy. Yeah, I don't think we even did. But it's just, I think it's because we had an Ecuadorian friend.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that made the transition so much easier.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, having her around has just been the best. Like,
Yeah. And so, my goal is to try to build a bridge with other Afro expats in different areas. So if we decide to go to Portugal or if we decide to go to Mexico, we have a connection there.
Mm-hmm.
And, it makes it so much easier because they, when you meet up with someone, they know the area, they know where to take you, know where to eat, because I love good food.
Oh, yes.
So what Sean is saying is when we come, we can stay at their house, is what she just said.
Well, when you that community, I mean, just knowing somebody, that connection, where you can have your questions, just basic questions answered. So now we're just like, okay, now we have friends in Thailand. Now it's literally gotten to the point that I'm like, we thought we were going to pick a country. Now I'm saying, oh no, I think I want to have places we have residency. So we have those options of when we want to land or need to, to land in a place. But I think when we decide we're on the road, I think it's going to be, we're here for 6 months because of our tourist visa. We're there because we're making those connections. And there are a lot of places that check many of the boxes. And there's a whole world to experience. And I'm down for it.
That's right.
We're young enough and healthy enough. And, I think there are things in our life where we feel like the more practice that we have in these different countries, that finding ways to live and experience it, why stay in just one place? Now it feels like now Mexico's make me greedy. I mean, like, okay, so if we can do this, we can do a whole lot.
And that's definitely part of doing this at this age instead of the retirement age. We've been trying to we've rebranded retirement for us. Retirement isn't we're going to start working. We'll still be working. We still have responsibilities. We still have life to build, but we'll be working for this employer. We'll be working as these contractors, so that the investments are about this life. And that has been a big deal while we have time and life and energy and still expectations and dreams to do that now, and making a variety of places available to ourselves gives us the opportunity to say, okay, we spent 6 months to a year there. I really like this about that, really like that. So when we get to a point in our lives, we like say, okay, let's settle back a little bit. Where's our home base? Then our home base will be based off of some decent research. Right now, we're traveling. We're tourists. Yeah. We know it. Even when we say, hell, we got a scouting trip. When you can only be there 2 or 3 days, you're a tourist.
A week,
and because we still are, as a part of, I said at the beginning, a part of our journey is we're still trying to build the resources to do all the things the couples we're watching are doing. We could get up today, sell everything, and go. And then you'd see us saying, okay, we're back in the States because, live from home again, and that's not the goal. The goal is to make wise decisions, so that wherever we go, everything is an adventure and an opportunity.
Yeah, I think on the lines of what y'all were just saying is that As far with us, with Ecuador, this is our home now, but it's kind of our home base.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So everything we're going to be doing in the future is going to be based from here.
Mm.
That's what we're kind of looking for, like a place that we could just say is our home base, and any traveling we want to do, we can do wherever we want, go wherever we want, and try to build our brand, to do whatever we need to do to support ourselves and be able to just kind of travel all we want. My lovely wife here recently crossed 50 last year, and and I had always told her that I would find a way to make it so that she didn't have to work.
Mm-hmm.
And in the States, there's only two ways you're going to do that. You're going to get rich or live cheap. So
Mm-hmm.
living cheap isn't an option.
Right.
So I said, well, how do we do this? So I said, came up with the idea. And as far as age, that was another big thing for us. I just couldn't see myself working until I was almost 70 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't make sense to me to wait that long. I already have bad back, bad knees, and all this other stuff.
Mm.
It didn't make sense for me to wait that long to try to enjoy retirement
Wow.
when
Yeah.
I can actually just enjoy it now.
Right.
And it just, I don't know, it didn't make sense. Maybe somebody in the States will think I'm a drag on the economy. I don't care. Whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
But that's just what we wanted to do, and so far we're enjoying it. And you're definitely welcome. Y'all want to come down, you're definitely welcome to come stay.
We are watching channels that are talking about the real life. So I think I watched you all's video when you went through the budget. Like those are the kinds of things that make seeing myself in a place, that gives me the reality. I love the pictures of the beach, the videos of the ocean, waking up, because I'm a water girl. I have to, that's one of my criteria of the places that we want to live, is it needs to be near water. But if my everyday living, because I'm going to make money on the internet, if we can't do that, well, then I'm going to have difficulty. So talking about the real life, seeing, transportation, all of the, just the practical side, not just the romantic side of, I've moved abroad and I've lost weight and I've got less stress. Okay, that's great. But you still gotta, do the things. Because we're not at retirement age. We don't have an income coming in unless we are working to make those funds. And so what we have found is that the keys are, I want to continue to make US dollars. So I'm looking for ways to continue to do that. But also our content is really based on, okay, so like we're choosing these places because you all are showing I can live here. I can get a decent place to live, not just living on the cheap, like you said. I can, I'm not in the hood. I don't want to necessarily be in the expat bubble, but I don't, and so just those activities of daily life, living your life is super helpful. So thank you all for sharing that content.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that we show people the true side. Like he knows I'm a budget person, and
she will squeeze water out of a penny, y'all. I'm telling you.
People laugh at me because I say her ringtone for me is the thrift store song. They're like, you playing the thrift store? That's my wife. Yeah, because that is one of the pride things that she brought to this marriage. I'm gonna tell it because I'm gonna tell it anyway. When the week that we got married, she was living in Birmingham. She's in Birmingham, Alabama. I moved down to Birmingham that Thursday. We got married on Sunday. The following Sunday, we moved down on Thursday. And I drove down my 2-door Thunderbird, and I had my lamp in there, and I had a suitcase in there, and that probably was 2/3 of what I left in my apartment. Okay. And on Friday, on that day when I got there, we signed the lease for what was going to be our apartment. I moved in, slept on the floor that night in the dark because I got there too late to turn on the utilities. Got up the next morning, drove my little raggedy car out to her folks' house to move her stuff to the house, to the apartment, so she would be there after we got married on Sunday. A semi truck, Thunderbird semi truck, couches, love seats, recliners, table and chairs, king size bed, queen size bed, all her stuff. And we're not talking about complaining. We're not talking about loading up the place. We're talking about the planning she put in ways that my 20 little youngish mind had not prepared for. And we had a home furniture, we had house prepared furniture in our 2-bedroom apartment. Okay.
I'm the same way.
And the majority of that stuff went to the house. I had to buy furniture for almost like the first 5 years of our marriage because she was set. And she brings that to the table, to the process. So, when we jumped on a plane and went down to Mexico, I wasn't worried about anything because the folder was ready. The binder was set. It didn't matter the amount of work I did, the binder was set. And, we talk about how we bring safety, how we as men bring safety to our wives. The funny thing is that also brings safety to us. That brings comfort to us, the knowing that we have a spouse that if I am disabled or immobile or incapacitated in any way, I still got somebody who can take care of the business, who can still take care of the house. We've watched older couples where the spouse dies, the husband dies, and mom is lost. She don't know how to pay the bills. She don't know how to. I had to tell her, I'm paying the bills. I'm writing the taxes this year. This is mine this year, because she is on it like that, and that is
the balance. I think
I am proud to have that as a part of my space. Yeah, I mean, and the couples that we watch and that we use for our mentorship, I see those things. And we're not talking about irresponsible husbands. That's what I'm not talking about. We're not talking about husbands who are riding on the backs of their wives, who are doing the business and their husbands are going along. But we're talking about husbands proud in the fact that they have business wives. They have a loving business partner. That's top notch for me. When you got somebody who you can love and sit down with and pay the bills together, it's not like old school. Dad sat to the table and wrote the bills and mom, said, where's my share? These are two people who are planning a life together. And we watch that with you guys. We watch that with the various channels and couples that we watch. And it continues to be an inspiration to know, okay, these people do exist. That's not just in our house.
Mm-hmm.
And when we strive outside of this space, we'll actually get to meet some people who are doing what we're trying to do, and not we'll be out there trying to hang with the other people, with the other Cajuns and the children trying to live life. There's some grown people of a beautiful complexion who are living life as more than just lovers and more than just business partners. They're both.
Yeah, that's right. What's crazy is, like, if people really knew how we live, they would be so bored with us. For all the videos and stuff that we do, that might be a spur of the moment. We're just sitting around here in sweats, relaxing, watching TV. And we're like, you know what? We need to go. Let's go make a video. And then it's hot outside, right? Like, we're coming right back in. Y'all, I think people think that we just go out there and we'll be outside all day. No. It's long enough to do exactly what we need to do, and we go right back where we came from.
I probably go outside.
I heard the weather is unseasonably warm.
Yeah, yeah. This is about the time of year where it's supposed to shift, but it's supposed to happen a little later this year. So it's been really
very warm.
Well, we're fortunate to have a really big balcony that she hangs out on that balcony all the time. But yeah, sitting back watching movies, eating popcorn is what we're doing most of the time in the evening. If once it's dark, that's pretty much what we're doing. That's life.
This is the life we signed up for. I signed up to do nothing.
Let's see, I think one of the videos that you all did about the apartments, You all were showing the different kinds of apartments and the price points. I'm trying to remember if it was like the second video. You walk into the kitchen and it had the view of the ocean. This guy was like, "That's the kitchen I want to cook in." Like,
So I'm from Florida. So water, sunshine, and I'm a chef. So those are only my requirements for a building, for a home. It needs to be enough space for me to say, go over there, leave me alone. Enough kitchen space to say, I can do this without bumping the refrigerator with my elbow. I need windows, I need light, and I need to be within, and for me, I need to be within an hour of the beach. Now,
I want to be within walking a reasonable walking distance.
Because I grew up around hurricanes, that just makes me nervous.
Right.
But
which isn't a problem here, luckily.
Yeah, that's too close. Yeah, but I mean, I'm learning some things, and it's not everything. But yeah, so yes, there's several of those views you all showed. I was like, yeah.
We love puzzles, so I have bought puzzles for us that we do now, but that puzzles. We'd love to read. We'd love to cook together.
Yeah, we're nerds.
I can't get down with that one. It's either me or her. If she's in the kitchen with me, there's too many hands in the kitchen.
Oh, I am sous chef. I am sous. He decides what we're gonna eat. I say, how do you want this chopped?
And you know what? That sous chef thing, that's her decision. As far as I'm concerned, I would love to have her cooking more than mine. But we go ahead.
No, because I want a garden.
Yeah,
I want both a flower garden and we've had a garden here, but I was just like, when I have more control of the time that I, between working and home life, I love growing things with my hand. It's good for my mental health, but I just fresh food. And I mean, people are doing those kinds of things. And then y'all love to, go dancing and I mean, like go get desserts. I mean, like what I have found on these trips is the beauty of the slower life. It is not a slow down, it is the boosting of quality and being able to develop relationships with people who are like you guys. You enjoy being together. Hey, we don't mind meeting up for a this or a that. We celebrate people who are coming into the area. There are opportunities for regular gathering, things that we haven't been able to do as often. We're looking forward to those when we move, but we're also making space for them, those kinds of things now. I don't want to say I can't live the life, the expat life until we leave. I'm expatting right here in the States. I'm the things that I value, I'm doing now. If I want to eat healthy, if I want to exercise, we're prioritizing those things now. And then pushing back in spaces where I've either overbooked my time or have not recognized that that is the source of the pressure. And there are things that I can do to relieve it. So, yeah, I mean, you're right. I love the opportunities and seeing and hearing people say, it ain't a party every night. In spite of what you all show, what is in the Facebook group, y'all are not partying every day. Y'all not meeting up for lunch or for dinner every day, but those opportunities, do present themselves, and it can still fit on a budget.
Yes.
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing because it's very inexpensive to do simple little get-togethers and get something to eat, but that stuff adds up over time.
Oh yes,
and we had to realize like, well, this we didn't come here to spend money, we came to save. So we started eating in more. It's one of those things where it looks from the outside, it may look like, oh, this is great. We're getting out, we're seeing people. But then after a while, you're like, what did we spend $100 on this week? It doesn't cost that much to eat.
Right.
But
once you're doing it.
Yeah, if you're doing it a lot, it can be that way. But, speaking about like wants and needs, you said you wanted a garden. LaShawn loves a garden. But we're fortunate because of the building we live in. It's a really nice building. It's, waterfront, whatever. But, of course, that means we don't have a garden. I wanted some chickens. But we have to make a sacrifice somewhere because we got a good price for it. And, it's a really nice place. So we had to say, okay, well, what are we going to sacrifice to have a solid place to live in?
Mm-hmm.
For the time being, until we find a more permanent location or some place that fits what we really want even better. So we just gave ourselves plenty of time. We leased it and said, okay, we'll figure it out.
Out.
When the opportunity comes to us, we'll jump on it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we're fine here. We like it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not stressing over anything. We're just trying. The whole purpose of coming here to be stress-free, to spend time with one another, and just have a peace of mind and focus on our health.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm interviewing you in your interview. Are you all still? I was going to
ask me some questions anyway.
Are you all still working some, or have you all semi-retired, or?
No. All I work on is like YouTube and PlayStation. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. We sold everything. Yeah. We didn't bring anything. Didn't do a container. We wanted, we thought about it. We looked at our finances, and we made a decision that, with him having a lot of issues with his back and knees and the job he was working in and the job I was working in causing me stress and anxiety, we looked at our plan and we agreed. And when he brought that to me, I have no complaints. Yeah. It's all in how you look at things and how you want to live. You can live here or you can live where you're comfortable. And so we're comfortable. We can travel. We can still do the things that we agreed that we would do once we decided to move here.
Yeah.
That we wanted to travel.
Yeah, especially once we got over the initial, like when we first moved, that initial couple of months, we were doing everything. We were trying to do everything, and then we were like, okay,
slow down.
Let's slow down. And let's just live. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
No. It's when
you were honeymooning. That's what you were doing. You were honeymooning.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, we were trying to do everything. Yeah. So now we just kind of slowed down. So I'm sorry. Another question? You have another question for us?
No. I expected that answer because I mean that's a good statement when I listen to it because I know that the newness of we've already been trying to talk about, okay, so one of our concerns was that for a variety of reasons, we have not had the opportunity to travel. This year we've been married 24 years and we've not really had the opportunity to travel. When we went to Mexico, it was our first out of the country trip together. And it was technically for business. We tacked on enough days and luckily we finished the process soon enough that we were able to enjoy some time there. Yeah. We just went to Africa and Spain and, again, first time off the continent, and, that was excellent and wonderful, but we're just at that point in our lives. And so we're saying, okay, we're trying to build in small trips, both in state and out, so that we get into the rhythm of being in the places and not losing our minds. To kind of give you an analogy for that, Thanksgiving is probably agreeably our favorite holiday. Mm-hmm. Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, how you want to go about it. Because it's about family. It's not about the gift giving. It's not about the fireworks. It's not about the history of something. It's just about us getting together. The whole American part of it is over there. It's just about, here's the day. We spend time together. And, you do the classics. You got your well, turkey, she's vegan, so whatever, vegan protein for that. We got your macaroni and cheese, you got your greens, your collard greens, your sweet potato, you got your
The whole
stuff,
shebang.
the whole shebang. And then at the end of the day, you feel like a fat slob because 3 bites into the food you were full, but you kept eating. So what we decided to do when the kids were little was once a quarter have a Thanksgiving meal. So that Thanksgiving was about the day and not about the food. So that we weren't overeating on the day, because we've been doing this periodically throughout the year. We're enjoying the food, but hey, we're just having a meal. And even if it's, we're more likely if we went to the family to pack a package and take it home than to try to eat everything while we were there. And using that concept, our traveling, we're trying to take that into account. I mean, we went out to Morocco and Spain. We were trying not to lose our minds. We're like, oh, we can get some of that. I'm going to take some of that home and I'm going to buy that. And, and then we were going,
nope.
Okay, what are we going to do with this stuff how are we going to get it home? Yep. Not only how are we going to get it home, when we decide to leave home and go somewhere else, who's taking all this stuff with us? So there's a lot of stuff went back on the rack. There's a lot of stuff gets handed back to the vendor, and it's not because we didn't want it or didn't feel we could use it or make use of it. It was just like, okay, the long-term goal is bigger than this exciting moment. Exactly. And that is going to probably be some of the guidance we have when we land wherever we land. It's okay. We will go out. We will eat the food. We will go out. We will get it, because we want to really be integrated into the culture wherever we go. I don't want an expat life. I want to Mexico. I want to Ecuador. I want to Ghana. I want to be, I want them to say, okay, he speaks English. Is he? He's still. You sure he's not from here? I want to be as close to the language as I can get. Mm-hmm. I want to wear their clothes. I want to, that, and that requires being mindful about. I'm making a move. I'm not traveling long term. I'm making a life shift. When you're traveling, you're collecting. You're living. I don't want to live our lives like souvenirs. We're building trinkets. We got a refrigerator full of travel magnets that the kids don't care about no more, that we now got to give away because they don't care we went to that state. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. And I don't want our expat life to become souvenir like, touristy, long-term touristy. So that's how we're trying to be mindful about how we're going to live economically. There's Post-it notes all over the walls, like she was just saying, and it says, "What can we spend? How do we spend this to get out of here? How do we save that to move?" It's all over the walls, man. It's like this photo is on the other side. There's a Post-its, and that's is a big deal. That's okay, because it helps keep perspective for me, especially. Exactly. I'm not a spender per se, but I'm at that point in my life where I say, you deserve it. You want it, here it is. And sometimes it's, you deserve it, but
does it match up with
what we're doing,
what our goals are?
Yeah. I think one of the best things we did was our trip to Bali this past November for her birthday. It was excellent. It was wonderful. I'm so glad that we actually took that trip while we were living in Ecuador, because if we were living in the States, we would have tried to bring back all kinds of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And we were like, every time we would see something that we like, man, can't even bring that back if I wanted to. So, all right, well, staying here, staying in Bali. I'm not buying it. Yeah. And it makes you focus on just enjoying the trip rather than like, ooh, what can I buy here? What can I, the souvenirs aren't the trip. The experience is the trip.
Exactly.
To me.
Right.
And that's just one of those things that you can't, it's priceless to me.
And not only that, when you're not working and you want to travel, you're not thinking about going back to work. Yeah. So you don't have that interference, that distraction of, oh my God, when I go back, I'm gonna have all this work. When you don't have to work, you get a full experience. You're really relaxed. And you're just relaxed. You're just like, we go back.
Yeah, and I understand that. I understand that at the end of this trip, we were like, "Oh, this is great." Okay, and on Wednesday we'll be at work. There was this buzzkill.
We did a video on the last day of the Mexico trip, We were poolside, and I was just like, this is how I want to feel. This is what I want to feel like. And so I said to him before we left going to Mexico, I said, you're going to probably have to convince me to come back. And each trip that we're taking, it's kind of like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, there's got to be something else because I, you know, I, I, I don't think that I'm built to have beauty be or rest be when I'm vacationing only.
Right.
So I each time I'm like, when we were leaving Morocco, when we were leaving Morocco, I said, the next place we're going is, and the next place, I'm not waiting to, okay, we got to, no, it's already on the calendar. I see people saying, I'm saving up my vacation time. I will travel once I've retired, and hearing these heartbreaking stories 4 months after retirement, having a heart attack, within a year, passing away because, and you've waited to have experiences. Nah.
And we have peers that have passed before 50. I had a TIA stroke at 46. That's enough of that. There's no, one day we will, eventually we could. While, as they say, while there is yet breath, I'd like to experience my whole life.
Yes.
Yeah, and for it to look like whatever I want it to look like. Again, am I necessarily trying to be unemployed yet or retired yet? Maybe not. There's still a few things I'd like to show my hand about,
Right.
but I want to do it in a way that I go, yeah, I'm not going to do that today. And not, I got to go because next week
bills.
such and such is due and such and such is due. And if we don't, then the stress related to have tos is more sometimes than the simple work itself.
Yeah.
The work is work. I mean, you get used to it, you do it, you find it, your body peaks out, you do the work. But the stress behind having to go and do it, especially if you don't want to do it anymore or it doesn't bring you joy, there's a lot of people doing passionless lives, and I'm wanting to unsubscribe to passionless life.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to unsubscribe from I pour all mine out into your cup so that you can drink it and get paid for it, and and I'm thirsty.
Exactly.
So I mean, that's kind of the mindset as I understand it. We're still learning that together, because everybody, even doing this as a couple, there's still independent, individual approaches to this process. Independent individual desires that come with this process,
and
independent
discovery.
individual understandings of the process. And so the conversation is ongoing. The days we're looking at each other going, why would you want to do that? And I don't want to do that. But that is okay. It's not a well, then you go ahead because I'm not doing that. It's not that. It's just, okay, I never considered that. I how do we take those things and blend them? How do we take those things and engage them in a way where we both find joy in those differences together? And that is for me a joyous part of the process, even though we haven't completed it yet.
He's saying these things because we've been together 30 years. And it's really exciting to realize we're still learning. And like this process is opening up new areas. It's like the breath of fresh air into a relationship that I was already happy with. But I'm just like, oh, this is like, when you're finding out, your boyfriend likes a certain kind of ice cream. Oh, that little, so that, or the things that you find out about yourself, that you are blooming, you are learning about yourself, and you're able to share with somebody that you've been with technically your entire adult life. And I think that is a beautiful gift of the expat journey, but also the expat life is, there's so much more to learn. My new motto is, I don't want to die and not know myself.
Yeah.
And because I'm, we only use 10% of our brains. We probably know even less about our capabilities and ourselves. So, yeah.
I never imagined that I would get her on the back of a scooter.
Oh yeah, because
or
I don't.
riding the bus around here or whatever. It's like you say, we're learning stuff about each other that we didn't know that we were either willing to do or good at. It's just it's like a whole new adventure. We'll be married 25 years in this coming July, and of course we thought we knew each other.
No, we're still learning.
We're still learning.
But I know that, like I told him, I know he's going to protect me. I know, and it's even more now because we're here. And I'm happy to do this journey with someone I like. Okay. There's a difference between
ma'am. Yes.
and
Yes.
liking someone. I'm doing this journey with someone I like, and we know each other, but we're also learning each other. And because if you don't like someone, we couldn't be up in here together. Trust me.
Baby, I keep saying, when you're a newlywed, you need to move into a 1-bedroom apartment because you don't have nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
We laughed when we moved into that apartment. I was just like, there's nowhere to go. I was like, there's only so much time you can camp out in the bathroom, and then you got to face each other. And it breaks ground in new areas. And just this past trip, I negotiated poorly and then lost an item through airport security that was very valuable to me, that on top of that loss, it was connected to that. And I emotionally just was like, I lost it. I was just like, I can't, and I was just like, it was a complete melt. I rarely have meltdowns, but I had a meltdown in the airport in Spain. And he was like, it's okay. It's going to be okay. And literally I can remember a time when baby, he was going to hear that for the next 2 weeks. And before we got on the plane, I was just like, that's a thing. This is an experience. We're okay.
Yep.
To see that kind of growth in myself, and I'm pretty sure it made the rest of the trip pretty happy for him as well.
And I was going to say those two things. Sean, you said that you're with somebody you like. In the past year or so, she's been saying to me, I like you. It took me a minute to absorb the importance of that statement, because we are trained to identify the love. the Bible says love your neighbors. I can't believe I use that as an example. The Bible says love your neighbors. It doesn't say, it never tells you to like your neighbors, because the concept is treating them with respect as a human, whether you like them or not. When you like somebody, you're investing in who that person is.
Exactly.
And liking them, you like them because my kids tell my kids, I love you today. I'm not sure I like you today. You know, you're going to always love people per se, but you're not going to always like people. And for her to include me in the like category, I mean, that's hey, I'm coming up in the world, you know, and as big as it is to enjoy the part about continuing to get to know each other, an even bigger thing is watching her get to know herself, and then her freely sharing that knowledge back to me, and getting to know myself and having the space with where I can share that back to her. Because a lot of couples, you get to that point in your life, you learn about yourself, and then you learn about yourself, and then you head in the other direction. Couples don't make it.
Yeah.
You know, I used the example today. I said, you know, you have kids. These are the parents, and we're tied together by the kids in the middle. And then when the kids are gone, you got these two people out here because they were tied together by these kids. You know, I think some things, part of what we struggled with was that we were in here trying to tie together with the kids, and sometimes they felt we were over here and they were over there, and you know, trying to find this, you know, to the point where when that's there, you still have this. And
exactly.
I know that's all visual, but you know, but that hey, I learned something about myself today. I'd like to share that with you. Woo! I'm in a win space today. I just won, because it doesn't matter how small it may seem. If it's important to her, and she says, and then give that back to me. Oh man.
Well, what I wanted to say is that me and my wife have been working on trying to build a community, you know, slowly but surely.
Mm-hmm.
We have a small Facebook group of, you know, Black and Brown expats here in the area. It's called Black and Brown Expats of Salinas. And we're also, recently we started reaching out to the Afro-Ecuadorians in the area, because their story is one of those untold stories. You know, Latin America has a lot of untold stories about Afro descendants. So we're trying to do some work with them, do some language exchange, and, you know, eventually maybe some volunteer work, things of that nature. Basically, like you were saying, you want to become part of the culture in your area. That's what we want to do here. We don't want to just be sitting around and, you know, just watching TV, eating, just living our lives. And well, we could just actually be doing something meaningful. You know, it's not really costing us anything to do something meaningful. And that's kind of our expat goal. You know, it's not to go to all the parties and functions and all that. We don't do that. We didn't do that in the States.
Right.
So we're not doing it here. And, you know, like you were saying, you want to become part of the culture. You don't want to live a certain type of expat life. You want to live the life that's good for you and your wife. And that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. We're watching you. We see you out there. We're taking notes, man. We're taking notes.
Well, you know, we're trying. We're about to go on our trip to Italy.
Yeah.
Next weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Then we're going straight to the States.
Yeah,
So,
we'll visit.
yeah.
I'll be visiting family
and taking care of some stuff we got to do, and then we'll be right back here in Ecuador. But
we're definitely gonna, you know, we're definitely watching your journey, and can't wait to see the end result and continuance of, you know, where you're traveling to. So, you know, it's great to, like I said, we want to build a bridge with other Afro Americans traveling abroad, so we can have a connection, you know, and we can share those connection with and build a community among us YouTubers,
and just also so that we as a people know that it's not just the people you see on YouTube traveling. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have the ability to travel,
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
when I go through my Facebook feed and stuff, you know, I see people talking about their job and how bad they want to take a trip and they can't wait to take their next trip, you know, next year and this and that. And I remember like kind of thinking the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, well, I know these people. I know a lot of these people. And I'm like, well, you could probably take that trip sooner if you really just plan for
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
it, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
that's, I don't know. I feel like I want to encourage more of that. Well, more people just get out and go somewhere. Even if you just decide, hey, the U.S. is exactly where I want to be, fine. But there's no reason to not experience other parts of the world.
Exactly. And not only that, when you go, take the opportunity to see it for more than just a tourist vacation.
Mm-hmm.
See it broader. Look at it, try to look at it from the eyes of people who live there. And you might learn the broadness more than just you were there to pick up souvenirs. You were there to hit the casinos. You were there to hit the tourist versions of their meals that don't taste nothing like what they actually cook there. Yeah. You see it a little deeper while you're there, and you might take into account how much you were spending and what you would spend if you were buying those same things in the States. Make some comparisons in your trip. See it broader, so that you can say, it might be more happening here than the travel guide has told me about, than the media reports have said it looks like. We stepped into Mexico and I was like, it does not look like
Anything we
I
thought.
was like, Mexicans are not running away from here. That is not true.
Right.
Yeah. There's little things like that. And when you see it broader than just an opportunity for you to go and hang out on somebody else's beach, it opens up the whole world to you in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, and I would say for those who, I'm gonna throw Beyonce in here for a minute. For those that are spending money on those tickets, spend that money on yourself.
Yeah.
And go somewhere. You saving all this money. I don't know how much the tickets cost. I just know I wouldn't do it. And if you
Thousands.
can't, if you're using that money also on tickets, use that money for a passport.
Mm-hmm.
Get your passport.
Yeah.
So many of us don't get a passport. Oh, I got my driver's license. Your driver's license doesn't take you abroad.
Yeah.
Know.
If you can save that kind of money, you can pay off your debts. You can free yourself from bondage of debts. You can buy yourself you can invest in some properties that invest in you. You can put something towards your kids and your grandkids. $3,000 for a ticket
2,000.
for somebody else's pocket. If you can pull that money together,
You can do it.
and you can do a lot. We paid off.
Yeah, that was where I was going to go with that. I have had a vision to live abroad since I was in high school. That vision diminished as student loans created distance, home ownership. And I was like, well, it's going to take me my whole life to pay off this mortgage. As we started paying those debts off, I got closer to that dream seemed attainable. And so there's the idea of a thing and then doing it. Yeah, when you can see that you can pull that money together when you're motivated, I'm hoping people can witness the power of that and then snowball that to benefit their longer term self. And travel is one of those investments you may not recognize, not just for yourself, but if you have children, that's a gift to hear other languages, to taste, to see things that are in the textbook, but you actually go to the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I mean, like, it's not just in a textbook. This is a living and breathing culture. So
your computer screen, we are opening worlds through YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and social media provided access. The internet has provided access, but it is not a substitute for putting your feet on the ground in a large world. We were on the plane, and we were there. They were showing the plane travel on the screen, across the globe. And you can spin the globe, you could interact with the globe. And when you realize that the land masses are within just one short section of the planet, and the rest of the planet is water, you're talking about we're not far from each other. We're living like everybody is, we're thousands of miles away, but that's not as far away as it once was. When they were developing this country, if somebody went west, you never saw them again. You may never see your parents again. We have to make our kids turn the screen off. Tell your friends good night. I mean, they live across town. Good night. My youngest son has friends across the country he's never met, and that's the connection of the world that we live in, and it doesn't cost as much to hop on a plane anymore. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. No. When you plan, when you invest, when you make a trip out of it, and your job will be okay if you take days off. I don't care what they tell you; they will be okay.
Yeah,
that's if you cannot take time off that you have earned, that is a signal that you are in a toxic work environment. If you are looking for a sign, touch that button.
Yeah, if you got enough leave built up that you could take 5 years off, but they can never seem to find time to let you off, something's not right here.
That is true.
Yeah, something's not right.
And not only that, I've seen people have so much leave, they're losing leave. And in my mind is I can't give you money back. I earned that. I'm not giving you money back.
And as I've gotten older, I have, the research shows people who take time off, what their health looks like, people who do not take time off. And what I've recognized is my body says, hey, ma'am, you're not, it's been 3 months. Like, where's our break? When you take a break, a break that's long enough to give you rest, that your body begins to say, give signals, if you are listening, that it's time.
I don't care if you get an Airbnb across town. Take some time off. Move out of your space. Go to a different space. Sit by the, get 3 days at the hotel down the road. Put your feet in the pool. Act like you're on vacation. Give yourself the habit of breaking away. Give yourself the habit of catching a deep breath. So you can eventually say, I deserve more than these 3 days. I deserve more than these 4 days. I deserve more than this week. I deserve more than the other side of town. When you start giving yourself gifts, and that is what I find travel to be. You give yourself gifts, and you want more gifts.
That is true. Now, one of the things before we close, I realize is whenever I see a place I visited or we visited on television, it feels amazing because you can say, I was there. Do you remember that? So it's a good feeling.
We see Dubai on TV. Like, hey, we were in that building. Bali. Never thought we would have visited Bali. It is pretty cool. It is pretty cool to see a place that you visited and you can now say like, hey, I set foot in that place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in Vegas, we were on a strip. And we was at the Bellagio. And when you see something that was in the Bellagio, and you're like,
hey, wait, that was in a movie. Like
that was right. So, it's a great feeling that you were, able to do something like that, to say I was there. Because a lot of times you can't say I want to go there, but to say I was there, that's a different type of feeling.
Yeah. So look, to wrap up, like we were saying earlier, we really just want to live life. have some fun. Just for an example, one thing that we kind of do is we watch a lot of movies, but we talk a lot of trash to the movies. So recently I said, you know what? Why aren't we recording this?
Oh.
So I have another channel. So, we started with Breaking 2.
Oh my God.
We were doing movies we haven't seen in a while. So we started with Breaking 2.
Yeah.
And then she chose Baps. I don't know if y'all remember Baps from 1997.
Oh my goodness. Oh my good. That is like our joke movie.
I'm literally uploading our reaction to that movie right now.
It's horrible.
That movie is terrible.
That movie is so horrible.
We laughed so hard.
It's so horrible.
I'm pretty sure the lead actress is probably not proud.
Halle Berry is not proud of this movie.
Yes, I wasn't gonna say her name, but yeah, girl, you could do so much better.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's like I said. It's just about having fun, and that's just what we do. We're about to go eat some food and watch some TV, and that's mostly our life, And I'm just so glad that y'all were able to come on this interview with us, talk to us, and I'm hoping that you guys get at least a percentage of the happiness that we get from just kind of sitting down here chilling and doing our own thing. That's I really wish the best for y'all.
Yeah.
We appreciate your channel.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate the message and the journey, and for sharing that with us, and for allowing us to talk with you today. We are truly fans, and we are truly proud as fellow Afro-Americans and couple. We are proud of what you all are doing together, and that you all and thank you for the support. We see you when we're out there.
Yes.
We thank you for the support. Thank you for helping us continuing to move forward. We're really proud of you.
And we're proud
LaShawn,
of you.
I can't wait to get some time with you as well. So the collaboration in this space is also really beautiful to see and experience, and that's why I was really glad that Herman was able to bring the men together, and that the wives we should have our say as well.
Exactly.
Hey, make sure shout out your channel.
Again, we are H&D Abroad, and I'm Herman.
And I'm Dee.
And we go live every Saturday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Dee goes live every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. She does a health self-care awareness. We're getting ready to add a couple of new segments that we hope that will, add a little more personal touch to who we are. And again, we're just striving forward.
Yeah, we're also on Instagram at H&D Abroad as well, and Facebook.
Okay.
I will make sure that the link for your YouTube channel is in the description so that anyone can click on it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to them. And once again, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it. Thanks everybody for watching.